Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the HCL webcast series on innovation. I am Aniruddha Mukherjee, the Head of Analyst Relations for Europe, as a moderator for you today. And we have a great session on Horizon Next in the world of automotive for you. I have a panel of superb speakers lined up, and I would like to now hand over to Magesh. Magesh, over to you.
A very warm welcome to everybody joining from all parts of the world. And we're going to discuss over the next 40 minutes or so some exciting topics on how we think is the horizon next in the automotive world. I'm quite sure all of you agree that if there is one exciting industry which affects all 200 countries on planet Earth, it's the transportation business or the automotive business, right? So let's jump into it. So firstly, a little bit about myself. I head the connected car and deep learning initiatives within HCL Technologies. I've been a core automotive guy for the last 19 years, started my career with Bosch and moved on to companies like Blaupunkt and Sony. And over the last 2.5 years, I found a lot of passion and vision working for HCL Technologies, creating our new business line in the next generation of automotive engineering and R&D services. That's about myself briefly. I also graduated from MIT Sloan from Senior Leadership Program. So I'm also very privileged and glad to introduce to you our prime customer, Movimento, CTO Mr. Mahbubul Alam, CTO and CMO of Movimento Group, now owned by Delphi, as you may be already aware. Mr. Mahbubul Alam is an excellent strategic client for us because he gave us the opportunity to work on next-gen OTA technologies from HCL side into his business. He comes with an international experience. He's an entrepreneur himself, a lot of technology and business experience globally. And he's a frequent author and speaker in multiple forums. He's also a multiple patent holder in technology business. And he is now the head of the technology office and the marketing office at Movimento, which is now a Delphi company. So we will have the pleasure of hearing him speak on the software-defined car. And I would like to open the session with a few words from myself from HCL Technologies. So a connected world, right? So we are already in a connected world. Our digital twin today is a smartphone, and I'm quite sure all of you agree that the today's smartphone has more processing power and fantastic memory as compared to supercomputer Cray 1, invented and launched at $2 million price in 1976. The smartest of phones today don't cost more than $300 and $400. And with that, you can get a whole host of features, much more than what was available in the supercomputer. Of course, apart from smartphones, we have cars which are connected today to the cloud via embedded SIMs. We have industrial devices connected because of IoT processes and frameworks. And we have people connected because of their smartphones. So I think it's fair to say that we already live in a connected world, which is becoming more and more connected, and hopefully this will all be for the better. So what are the biggies in the leaders saying, right? So it's clear that the industry is transforming. Former CEO, Mr. Jeff Immelt of General Electric fame, says that if you went to bed last night as an industrial company, you are going to wake up today as a software company and an analytics company. That, I think, is a very fair comment because most automotive companies today think that they need to be a software enterprise, digitizing themselves and transforming their digital experience for the consumer and for everybody across the value chain. Mary Barra, CEO and chairman of General Motors, says, I believe the auto industry will change more in the next 5 to 10 years than it has in the last 50. And I think that's also a very, very significant statement because the automotive industry now exists for 130 years, but we've seen quantum leap in the mindset an approach to business in the in the previous 3 years or so, and definitely the next 5 to 10 years are extremely exciting. And Mark Fields, former CEO of Ford, says now the car is becoming the ultimate technology product, and we are now becoming more of an information company. And guess what the new CEO of Ford did in the first day when he took over as CEO of Ford Motor Company? He said, I want 100% connectivity. So it's very clear that the automotive industry and the adjacent industries which want to serve the automotive industry and the ecosystem are all aiming to transform themselves into main stakeholders of the connected business, and everybody is aiming to make money from the data and the value data can create in our lives. And that's why somebody has said that data is the new oil, right? So what are the top 3 automotive industry trends, right? So thanks to Daimler for leading the CASE acronym, and that of course stands for connected, autonomous, electric, and shared. 4 pillars. Most companies associated with the automotive industry have already aligned themselves under these 4 pillars and are aiming to develop products, platforms, processes, and experiences to serve these 4 broad pillars and create use cases that offer integrated, seamless experience using smart mobility platforms in a smart city environment. So that's a given today, and everybody is working towards that. And more about it as we go along in the presentation. And the number 2 trend is we are now living in the light generation, right? So changing customer preferences. Everybody believes in personalization. Thanks to the smartphone, everybody is able to personalize their own experience on how they experience the world, how they perceive information, and how they want to interact and how they want to consume content for entertainment and for information. So personalization is the key. And everything that people are doing in the automotive world is to make sure that the personalization aspect of driving and moving towards autonomous driving and smart mobility is retained. And the second most important customer preference is the ability to craft your own product. Yeah, everybody wants to customize, and this again comes from the fact that you can do that using your app store. Most infotainment units are already having their own automotive app store. You can easily customize your experience by making sure that you are logging into the infotainment unit and customizing the app store, as you drive or before you drive, so to speak, when you buy a car. And information transparency is become commonplace today. So we all know that there's tons and tons of data. This data is getting transformed or converted into information. From information, we derive insights, and insights lead to knowledge and wisdom. That's kind of the broad framework of how data is converted into knowledge and wisdom. And all of this is happening in the world today, and the pace of change is happening actually in an accelerated manner because there's information transparency. It's very easy for us to know in the 200 countries around the world today what is happening, and knowing that information is almost a 24/7, 365 days a year process. It's nonstop and it's available. And it will continue to be available as you drive to give you a connected experience. And that's what the presentation is going to be about and how we're going to achieve that. And the last part of the customer preference is, people want to just pay for what they use. They want the solution to move from point A to B. It's not necessary that they want to own the product or the automobile which provides them the transportation. It's more important today to provide a solution on demand in the place that the consumer requires in a multimodal fashion. So all of this is really great, but then there are challenges in business. How do we deliver that? How do we deliver that experience, right? So you've got an industry which is multi-tiered, the OEM, Tier 1, and component supplier industries, 130 years old. All of them are facing severe cost pressures because, the cars are getting more and more complex, whereas the price points are moving southward, and there is a need for frugal engineering for emerging markets, we have 150 emerging markets in the world, and in the advanced markets, which are about 50 markets in the world, people are expecting a completely seamless and connected experience. So the cost has gone up. With 200 million lines of code, 125 ECUs that's required to make a modern luxury car, software code alone is 15% of the BOM cost of manufacturing a smart vehicle. So you can imagine there's a huge pressure on profitability. And as always in history, competition comes not from your own industry, but it comes from non-traditional players that you never imagined would be your competition. And the threat in this case is coming from internet companies, is coming from companies which are into semiconductor business and companies which are into creating social media experience. So it's really surprising today that automotive players are very wary of their non-automotive counterparts, all of them wanting to get a piece of the cake, so to speak. And they're coming at it very fast with their R&D dollars, right? Supposedly, Apple has a $15 billion budget for autonomous car project, and Google already has committed a few $1 billion with a few million miles on autonomous car project. So it's no longer a joke, or it's no longer a private project. It's mainstream investment for most of the non-automotive companies to make sure they are able to get the connected solution of the mobility business in the world. And of course, you have a need for flexible manufacturing systems. The future cars are simply going to be 3D printed with a complete computing environment inserted into the chassis of the car with an automotive Ethernet communications network connected over a 5G and seamless connected and data connectivity from the edge to the cloud and analytics as well built in. And more of it when Motherwell describes the software-defined car. Let's move on. So if that's the mega trends and challenges, then how do we think companies are going to achieve that? Yes. So in our point of view at HCL, we think that the artificial intelligence revolution is going to be a key factor to make sure that there's success in this transformational process. And from our point of view, there are 5 key pillars in the AI revolution. One is machine learning, right? So machine learning allows you to intelligently use predictive capability of the data. You are able to build algorithms, machine learning algorithms that can learn from historical data and start to predict what is the future going to be. And why is that important? Because that allows us to automate most manual processes using machine learning algorithms. One of the most popular examples for machine learning business in the world is Google database, which started as spiders running 15 years ago on a normal internet search engine, but it was one of the best in the world learning from itself. And today we know what a giant Google has become. And a subset of machine learning and AI is what is called as deep learning, which is also referred to as convolutional neural networks. CNN is a type of machine learning algorithm or architecture which can intelligently learn from historical data, and that data could be image, it could be text, it could be voice, or it could be any other asymmetric raw data that's coming in, and through a process which is mimicking the human neural network is able to put out predict outputs with very little error as it gets trained over and over again through an iterative process. And deep learning has 4 broad applications: image recognition, text recognition, voice recognition, and what's called as natural language processing. And the third pillar is computer vision and voice assistance, right? So all of us are very familiar with Cortana, Siri, Google Voice Assistant, Alexa by Amazon, so on and so forth. The voice assistants are getting extremely intelligent, able to understand you in the natural way that you speak, your accents. It's also able to understand languages beyond English, many languages around the world. As we know, there are about 6,800 languages in the world, and one way to connect everyone is to make sure we have intelligent voice assistants that can understand you in the language that you speak, but refer back to the same database, the connected database in the world, and give you a search result or do the function or do the action that you need as you drive or even as you sit at your desk or as you speak into your smartphone. And the fourth pillar, in our opinion, is blockchain. Blockchain completely transformed the way data is structured. It's no longer, structuring data in a particular cloud or a particular data center. That particular, data storage architecture is now passé. We are now looking at a distributed environment where you have a smart ledger or smart contracts over a distributed ledger, and you can write smart contracts for various use cases. And we think in the automotive world this is extremely important because autonomous cars and the automotive smart mobility business will have generate a lot of data, terabytes and petabytes, and all of this data need to be secure, and it will definitely not be secure if it's centralized. It's best that it's decentralized and is dynamic. And because these smart contracts are immutable, which means that you cannot go back in time and edit them, blockchain offers a great potential to secure our transactions in the new world. And lastly, quantum computing, right? So 40 years ago, if somebody said to us when they saw Cray 1 that 40 years later, people will be having processing power in the palm of their hand, and that processing power and intelligence will be not $2 million, but maybe $300, $350. People wouldn't believe that. But that's a reality today. And we are at the same stage in quantum computing. And I believe by the time we are grandparents, our grandkids would be holding quantum smartphones doing entanglement experiments with parallel universes. Sounds very hi-fi, but, it's never anything that is impossible in the technology world, and there's always a possibility that we have some pleasant surprises with all of this technology coming together in the 21st century. So that's the AI revolution in our perspective. Now, the automotive ecosystem, right? So, as I said, the multi-tiered industry now has multiple players, and these players are equally important. So we have the AI companies, contributing immensely to the transformation. We have the smartphone companies, which every 6 months are making quantum leaps in the feature set, and the price points are going south. So you have more and more intelligent smartphones with better use cases every time. And we now live our digital life inside a smartphone. It's almost an external appendage to our being. And the consumer behavior, that's, everybody who is into social media, what I call as the like generation, is completely changing. They just want to pay as they go, and therefore business models need to be completely retailored, rehashed, and creative disruption is the order of the day. And finally, V2X and 5G. 5G is network which is designed not just for mobile telephony, but for device-to-device communications. It's designed for communications in low latency areas and is designed for very, very high data intensity communication and very reliable as well. So we'll see all of this coming together in the smart mobility solutions in the world, and we believe this is a new connected ecosystem which is thriving and happening as we speak. And you will see in Mr. Mahbub's presentation all of this coming through in the software-defined car. Next, we believe there are 3 key milestones in terms of the transformation of the world. 2020, when we see L4 or highly autonomous drive become a reality in most advanced markets. 2025, when we see EVs and highly autonomous cars becoming commonplace in a lot of countries around the world, and we've already seen the announcements from the government side to enable this. And 2030 certainly would be a full autonomous milestone achieved with EV and plug-in hybrids and hydrogen fuel cells also coming in as alternative powertrain energy options for smart mobility. So these are three key milestones which we believe are kind of more or less common, and the automotive ecosystem is driving towards these milestones. A quick update on, what is HCL all about in all of this transformation, right? So what we've done in HCL is now we've created not just sales and delivery leaders, but product leaders who own expertise and product development initiatives within the subsystems of the automobile. So we have teams that work together, and these teams are called as centers of excellence. Within each center of excellence, we have not only the people, but the know-how and investment in next-generation technologies. And you will hear from Mr. Mahbubul about the software-defined car, and we definitely are moving towards a software-defined car, and this is our software development schematic from HCL, which mimics the automotive transformation in the industry. And this is our automotive solution schematic. The objective of this particular slide is to say that HCL delivers both horizontally and vertically fully integrated end-to-end software development services across the ecosystem. So we actually work from stand to brand. We work with semiconductor companies on VLSI, FPGA, and ASIC designs. We work with 5G network companies to develop 5G technologies at various levels. We work with tier ones and OEMs to work to develop various subsystems and software code required for it. And that's how we've organized our automotive solutions business across the industry ecosystem to ensure that HCL becomes a dominant force in the automotive transformation of the world. And this is my last slide. I just want to bring together our automotive experience. We've been in the business over 20 years. Of the 41 years we've been in existence. In 1978, we invented the microcomputer, same time as Apple in the Silicon Valley, and 3 years before IBM. And in the automotive business, we brought that product DNA, we brought that product discipline, worked all along these 2 decades in every single subsystem for various companies. And one such company, of course, is our prime customer, which is Movimento. And it's my honor and privilege to introduce you to Mr. Mahbubul, who will be speaking about the software-defined car. Over to you, Mahbubul.
Thank you, Magesh. What a great presentation. For folks, welcome. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about may sound a little bit repetitive, but Magesh did such a great job and teed up this discussion, which makes my life easy. I'll just quickly talk about a few words about Movimento. Movimento, in a very nutshell, provides a Tesla-like software update and data collection capability for OEMs, whether they are tier one, incumbent OEMs or challenger OEMs, or new sets of customer, whether they are coming from fleet management or lightweight or commercial vehicles. So what I'm going to talk about is unlocking the automotive revenue potential with software-defined cars. As Magesh talked about, if you just look at the next 10 years, there's so much change is going to happen, and the disruption, we are in the middle of the disruption, and so the value chain is not settled. So how do you thrive between now and then, and how do you make sure that you come out of it as a strong company? It is also well known that the industry that we know today may not be the same, and the players that we think are the leaders today may not be the same. I mean, historically, if you look at Wall Street, in the last 30 years, over more than 60% of those companies have disappeared. So I think automotive is undergoing one of those mega transformation, and it is not given that that this journey is going to be secured for the existing
OEM or tier one, and you will see a lot of newcomers from different industry. And so what I will try to do is go through that and go through those transformation, go through the changes, talk about the software-defined car and how do you make revenue, and also come up with some of the key takeaways. So if I just to give an agenda, so I'm going to paint out a vision of 2020. For many people, 2020, I don't know about you guys, but for me, 2020 used to be a long way. It was early, 2010 seems like yesterday, but it was already, almost 8 years ago. So 2020 seems to be a long way, but it's only 2 years from now. So it's not even a vision, it's kind of almost around the corner. So I will paint that picture of what the 2020 will look like. Then we'll talk about what is software-defined car and what does the architecture mean for software-defined car, whether it is in vehicle or off vehicle. So the vehicles are not all about what you do in the car, but what you do as well outside the car. So we'll talk about that architecture. Talk about the key drivers for the transformation. So transformation is hitting from different angles. You've got software, data, autonomous. You've got electrification. You've got AI. So a lot of cybersecurity. So a lot of different things are coming. So we'll talk about those transformations. And then what I will do is to reduce the entropy of all this complexity. I will bucket them into different types of innovation. And it's very important to understand how do you thrive in different types of innovation. I will talk about evolutionary innovation, revolutionary innovation, and disruptive innovation. And then from there, I will go into what are the technology and timeline. That is a very important. The number one thing that you learn is the timing is everything. And to get the timing right, you need to marry the right technology with the right timing with the right business outcome. So this combination of these three things, if you get it right, you hit the jackpot. And then finally, I'll go into the key takeaway, and then followed by that, I'll hand it over to Magesh, and we'll have Q&A. So let's look at this. It's a busy slide. There's no animation in this, but let's go from the top, and we'll go in a clockwise. So a very simple contextual software. So the software that we're going to get is more contextual aware, location aware. It's going to understand the user and also the location of it, and it may be around. It could be around the fire, the smoke. It's no more given that the smoke level that you have that you pass the smoke test at the beginning of the year, and then you're all good. If you have looked at what happened here in California, we had in the South California, we have LA fire, and we had just recently north of me is in Napa and Sonoma County, we had major fires. So the smoke level was very high. So the ability for the vehicle to understand the smoke level and to recalibrate the engines to reduce the emission is very, very relevant. And this is also very relevant in India right now. I was just looking at the news. Delhi smoke is very high. So how do you make sure that the softwares are contextual aware of its local surrounding and sensors and tweak themselves? Cognitive cockpit, the next one. The cockpit in the car is getting more and more AI. You have avoidance for driver distraction. It's another area where you have voice recognition. You have basically virtual assistants, whether it's Alexa's getting into your home, not only but also into your car. So you have this AI, driver behavior, all those kind of things are more and more getting into the vehicle. I mean, I can name a number of things, whether it's augmented reality coming into your head-up display as well, so that it makes it much more easier for you to drive. This is hitting, this is really a prime area for providing an amazing user experience. It's all about the in-vehicle user experience, which is basically driving the cognitive cockpit. Then you have the connected services. Magesh talked about it. When things are going to get connected, it's all about what do you do, what are the new services you can provide, whether it's ads, whether it is productivity services, all sorts of services, entertainment, infotainment, all sorts of things. And of course, personalization. This is probably the first time where vehicles you will be able to personalize to some extent. I don't think by 2020 it will be fully personalizable, but it will be much more personalizable than what you have today. Just like smartphone, when we all buy a smartphone, it all looks the same, and within a month or so, everybody's displays and apps are quite different, and some are common. And that would be the ability in the vehicle as well, to make it your own. Then going to the next one is the Internet of Cars. A lot has been said about it, but it is Internet of Cars, and a lot of the leadership for the OEMs have decided that Internet is a must-have, and they want to all get there before 2020. Magesh also talked about V2V. We do see an opportunity for V2V and more of an assisted service rather than a vehicle taking over. And this will be a combination of whether it is through the DSRC or the cellular V2V solution. So both sides are marching, and 5G will help, but 5G will just be barely rolling out in 2020, but it brings a lot of amazing capability in terms of latency, jitter, and bandwidth, and also peer-to-peer communication. Regulated cybersecurity. I think that is something happening right now in the United States. You have the House of Representatives already approved a Security Act. Then it got passed by the Senate already, and now it's waiting for a signature away from the president to make it a law. And this will make automated driving, whether it's partial or conditional automated or fully automated, even for trial on the road, you have to have a cybersecurity practice, which is both proactive, corrective, and also reactive, and also have a discipline around the organization to train employees and also to have a leadership that is responsible for cybersecurity. This is a very important area for the government, because just imagine if the car gets hacked, the panic that is going to cause within the population. You might be scared even to walk out on the road, because now you don't have any more control, and it could potentially open up a lot of unwanted situations from rogue governments around the world to try to do something around it. So you'll see a lot of emphasis in the next 2 years on that. The third one, moving on to the third one, is software-defined platform. I think that is the right way to think. We call it software-defined car, but you need to think of it as a platform, whether individual component in the car or not. You need to be able to think that things evolve with time, and we need to make sure the car stays current with time. And it's very important. I kind of call it like the car is like a noun. You bought a car, and it's going to become a verb. That means you are never done. It's going to be an incomplete product. Just like your smartphone is an incomplete product. You get the next operating system, which provides bug fixes and feature update or better battery life and so on. Car is going to become in that way. So it's not that incomplete means bad. It means you are never done with it. It's not like done, sold, and you go and pray that there is no recall and warranty. No, it's a lifetime journey. So that's where the concept of software-defined platform comes into place. Magesh talked about auto Ethernet. So the IP architecture that we have seen in the industry many years ago, where we had, in the telecom industry or in the residential area, we had dial-ups. We had in the business, we had frame relay, we had MPLS, ATM, X21. All those got converged into IP, and now today voice, video, even this session is all happening over IP network. The same thing is going to happen in the car. We have today over 8 networks in the vehicle, whether it's LEAN, CAN, CAN-FD, high-speed CAN, MOST, FlexRay. So there are a lot of auto Ethernet. There are a lot of those, and they're going to converge, and that's going to help reduce also the weight of the vehicle. Typically, the wiring harnesses are around 18 to 20 pounds. So as you can imagine, with the electrification, every pound matters for the mileage, to get extra mileage. So you will see that IP network coming in there, and it's going to be a more of a deterministic IP network to guarantee the safety of the communication, and also at the same time consolidate the network and reduce the weight. Magesh talked about automotive blockchain. I think the blockchain after the cryptocurrency, which is used for Bitcoin, well known for Bitcoin, and many other cryptocurrencies are there. The most ready for this is in the automotive industry, especially when you have things like contracts, smart contracts. Car sharing is going to drive that smart contracts and behavior. Also the fact that there you will see an opportunity where your car is going to earn money for you. So typically, utilization of any vehicle on residential vehicle is around less than 5%. So 95% of your time, your car is sitting in the garage, whether at work or at home or somewhere else. And this is an investment of more 30,000 or more, and you are just letting it wait. So you'll see higher utilization of the car, and it could come at a very, you will start seeing companies that will tie the blockchain with this peer-to-peer car sharing. In other words, you could come to the office and you're working, and you may want to, if I call rent out or share your car for 6 hours with someone, and that all those contracts happen in a smart contract way. So not only you make money during the day, but your car also makes money in the 6 hours for you as well. So you will see those kind of new innovative ways of having car sharing. Then if you look at in general what's happening here, because of this mega transformation, obviously, it's given that the increase of M&A and investment is going to skyrocket. There was going to be a lot of cross-industry partnership because the domain knowledge that is required to address the race to autonomous economy and value chain requires so many disciplines that you could not buy your way out. So you have to understand what you're going to buy, what's going to be core, what's going to be context, and which are the areas you're going to partner. Of course, last but not least on that topic that I have is the rise of the artificial intelligence and security startups. We are not done, and there's a long way to go in that. The difference here in the security, unlike you have seen in the information security, networking security, and everything, is this is about life, human lives, and so this is there is not a single company that can address multiple layers of security. So there's going to be a lot of security startups, and most of those you will see is a combination of AI-based security, machine learning-based security, so that the machine can write its own codes and start defending. There's no time to understand the signature of the security posture or to quarantine or to stop flow. You really have to have the AI come into the security to start self-defending it proactively. Moving from there to the next bucket is increase of data sovereignty. I think that's you are already seeing it, and it's only going to increase. Data privacy of citizens, data not leaving a national boundaries are becoming more and more. And also in Europe, you have right to, from next year, rules are going to be implemented, which is right to forgiveness. So citizens should have that ability to remove their personal information data so that they have more control of that. So you see more and more of that. Also, the car data sharing. This is another very interesting area where you see already in Germany with BMW, with IBM, you see that the car data sharing, so that your data from the car is you have the control of who gets to use your data. So you're giving the user the owner of the data, who creates the data. You get to decide, I want to give it to this insurance because they are going to give, because I appreciate their value, or I'm going to get a better, insurance premium because I'm a good driver, or I want certain ads so that I can get, retail discounts and so on. So you get to decide who gets your data, and to create those kind of user-centric, user consent-based data, and the user get to decide where it goes. The other area is the AI-based edge computing. Magesh touched upon it, but I want to emphasize a little bit. Typically, an automated vehicle that are on the road today collects about 4 terabytes of data per hour because of the computer vision, the LiDAR, radar, all the sensors. If you collect all the data, it's about 4 terabytes of data per hour. there is no way whether not only through the bandwidth, but there is no way you can transport all those data to the cloud. The amount of data and the investment that is required to store all those data in the cloud it's not feasible and it's not profitable for business. So what you have to do is bring the intelligence into the car, and what's going to happen is a concept that I call a mini data center in the car. So what you're going to see, or a mini cloud, data center cloud. So you can think about a cloud that we know today, but a miniature of that is going to come into the vehicle so that it can make local decisions for real-time actions, keep your data, your personal data locally, and not allowed to leave the car unless you want certain things, and also only send the metadata and useful data back into the cloud so that the cloud can take those data and make further analysis and disseminate those information to the rest of the other autonomous vehicles so that all the autonomous vehicles have the same level of knowledge. It's not about individual car learning from its own incidents, but it's about collective learning of any given car and then sharing across. The next one is mobility as a service. Magesh talked about millennials and aging populations, and so that's going to drive a lot of AV, drive for AV and electrification. They want to stay in their own house, but it's a very interesting. I come from a background of mobile and radar communication. If you were going back 10 years back, if you use the mobility, you would associate with telecom, 2G, 3G, 4G networks. Today, the mobility is associated with transportation. So the mobility as a service is going to be a very important. It's about getting a person. What it means basically is putting the user in the center, not the car, but the user. Going from A to from door to door, from A to whatever B or D maybe. So it can include bicycle, it can include parts of it as a vehicle, public transport, and so on. And the ability to have a single ticket or a single ride from A to B and all the schedule changing if there is a delay in one, and providing that kind of services, you will see much more collaboration and offering around that area. Smart lifestyle, I think we are already in the middle of the smart lifestyle era. So, and you're already seeing the integration of smart home appliances with your car, like we talked about Alexa and Google Assistants, or Cortana from Microsoft. So, and you will see more and more integration of that with your home, with your virtual assistants, with the parking garage, with your office, and so on. Peer-to-peer car and ride sharing, I think I talked about, because of blockchain, is going to allow more peer-to-peer. So the concepts that we have today that are around centralized platform, like you know today from Uber and Lyft, those centralized solutions are going to going to be challenged to more of the peer-to-peer type of platform with the help of blockchain. And lastly, if you look at the personal assistants I talked about, you will see facial biometric security. Already iPhone X are bringing the facial recognition with 30,000 recognition points. So the fact that you get into the car, it will recognize you. You don't need the key. You can start, and all those kind of things are coming very quick. And it's really taking advantage of the smartphone industry and voice recognition as the next. So this is 2020. Some of them will be much more mature, some will be in the early stage, but to some extent, everything of this will be there out there. And this is kind of teeing up to where we are going to head towards. So if we look at the software-defined car, I just want to quickly help why we talk about software-defined car and not connected car or partial automated vehicle or autonomous vehicle, conditional autonomous or fully autonomous, is because each one of those terms, connected or autonomous or level of autonomous, is a point in time or its capability of the vehicle. But actually, the architecture that is required is software definable. Software definable allows you to modify from level 2 to level 3 automated, or improve level 3 automated, or improve algorithms. So if you look deeper into the car, this is inside the vehicle, you have basically 4 layers. And these 4 layers are going to be around user experience, artificial intelligence, the software for this complex unit, and the firmware that's really tied very close to the hardware. And on the right-hand side, I've just listed some of those things, why, and the benefits of each one. But you will see that the vehicle needs to be really designed in this way of having a software-defined architecture that allows you to stay compliant and relevant, that allows you to stay current with the current cybersecurity threat, that allows you to upgrade the deep learning algorithms and so on. For a foreseeable future, autonomous vehicle is going to continue to learn. There's no way you can release an autonomous vehicle and say, oh, it knows all the situations. It's going to continue to learn from all the different situations. So, and as soon as you learn something and it's meaningful, it's got to be sent over to all the other vehicles as well. So you will see this architecture more and more, and the OEMs are trying to transition to more and more in this, and some are the advantage for some of the greenfield players, the challengers OEMs, and a little bit more challenging for the existing incumbent OEMs. So from there, that was in the vehicle, but what is required as the architecture is also to think outside the vehicle. So what I just talked about in the vehicle is on the left-hand side, very simple, but what is required in the outside is a cloud. So you need a car and cloud cooperative network. And the architecture has to be what we call a closed-loop architecture. And closed-loop architecture is what happens in the car, you make some decisions, but some of those things needs to be sent back into the cloud where further analysis can be done, and collective analysis from other cars can be drawn in and analyzed and made some decision whether it is on algorithm security or what have you got, and then a software update or application update or algorithm update or security patch update or personalization update, all those will be pushed back into the cloud. And behind that cloud that is doing that, there will be a lot of partners and content providers cloud that will be associated. So this is what end-to-end software-defined architecture looks like, and this is what is needed. You need to have a closed-loop architecture in order to have something that can continue to evolve, and we can depend on such systems so that if human were to trust this technology. So very quickly, this is kind of talking about the drivers. What you just heard is actually pillared around 3 key elements. One is hyperconnectivity, whether it is Wi-Fi, tethering with Bluetooth, or tethering in general with USB, doesn't matter. The hyperconnectivity with 3G, 4G, 5G, satellite communication, all those sort of things is a key driver for enabling a lot of other things. Second anchoring point is the cybersecurity. We all know anything in IoT, Internet of Things, or Industrial Internet of Things, or anything that is connected, the security is paramount. It is the pillar on which all our trust and confidence of the people are built on. So you will see that as a strong pillar around the architectures and OEM's focus for the car. And the third one is the societal one, which is more of going green. But some of those are interrelated. So if you look at automated driving, there is the push for automated driving. We talked about aging population and millennials as well, but also green or electrification is a very important. The vehicle charging by itself is very important. That's probably easier than having gasoline being filled in there. And there are other benefits that there are no moving parts in an electric vehicle and so on. So smart lifestyle is going to be a combination of connectivity and security, user experience, and car and ride sharing. This is kind of summarizing where it is. But what I'm going to talk about is very important is all these things. How do you structure them in a framework? And I think this is probably there is no animation, so that's why it looks a little bit busy. But if you look at it, the industry's mega trends that are, or mega transformation that is happening, and the way the industry is organizing is around 3 types of innovation, and I call it evolutionary innovation, revolutionary innovation, and disruptive innovation. So in the evolutionary innovation, if you look at it, the vehicles are evolving from hybrid electric vehicles. So electrification basically, and more electric vehicle or fuel cell or hydrogen cells, doesn't matter, but it's really going more around that evolutionary part. It's quite focused around the powertrain and so on. But the two other areas from the OEM or current automotive industry point of view, the revolutionary innovation is around data services. This is totally new, how to collect data, how to monetize data, how to create a trusted platform from which you can deliver a lot of those. So this is already a challenge and as well as an opportunity, but definitely something new for the existing auto industry. You have trusted platform that some of the trusted platform that we have today are around like Uber and Lyft and Didi or Ola Cabs and so on. So that's the direction that the OEMs are trying to do with the companion apps and using the vehicle data. But that also creates a vector of challenge as well. So anyone who is working on that can now come into the automotive industry from that angle. The other one is disruptive innovation, and the disruptive innovation is really around autonomous vehicle and the algorithms, and you can see that there are greenfield or new players coming from that angle as well. So these are the three different vectors of innovation. So while you try to innovate around electrification, you also have to figure out what is your data and connected services monetization model for the foreseeable future as you are evolving towards autonomous vehicle. And in the data, we are seeing three different types of business models that are out there. It's a data broker model. We're seeing data as a service model, and we're also seeing data battery model, where basically exchanging of data information to improve each other's product. And what I've done is I put those 7 drivers that are driving this along the axes. But the key takeaway, one of the key takeaways here is that it's around the revolution and disruption where most of those drivers are coming from. So, or driving, related to whether it's smart lifestyle or user experience or car or ride sharing. So that's a very interesting, and that's why you see a lot of focus of automotive industry towards Silicon Valley, because along those two lines, and to somewhat in Pittsburgh around the CMU, Carnegie Mellon University, because the automated algorithms of automated driving and so on are two hubs at Stanford and Carnegie Mellon University. But from the data monetization, data security, and all those are quite focused here in the Valley. So let me talk quickly around the success criteria. Very not, you'll have this deck. I know time is running out, but you'll have this deck. Very simple. On the revolution side, if you look at it, you need to have a connected services or mobility services platform. You have to create a marketplace out there, just similar to a smartphone, like an iTunes, but where the OEMs it becomes the gatekeeper as to what can go into the vehicle in terms of security, in terms of user experience. They don't want driver distractions and so on. So there will be some criteria of how you can put an application for the automotive out there, but you have to create a marketplace. And the third one is very important, is to embrace the open innovation. There's no way you can innovate and provide all the services. So you have to move into a concept of co-innovation, co-creation, co-marketing, co-revenue sharing, and so on. So you have to embrace open innovation if you want to thrive in that revolutionary innovation space. Of course, evolutionary is given, but that you need to move to electrification, but more the success will depend on how much of the electric charging do you have across the country, whether it is in not only in the urban area, but also in the rural and long distance. So the infrastructure dependency is very important. There has to be more of a, just like in the banking industry, long time back, there was a big difference, transferring money from one bank to other bank was very difficult. Now you can do very seamlessly. We are in the similar situation in EV charging. There are 6 different EV charging in Europe and 4+ in the US, and they don't interoperate with each other. So if you buy a car from one OEM and they only are doing with certain EV chargers and not with others, so you got to remove those barriers, standardize on the connectors so that it becomes easy for everybody. We should not, just like gas, it doesn't depend on which vehicle you do. We have to get to the EV charging in the same way. And the third one, you will see the success will depend on creating a specific vehicle, not a generic vehicle that we have today that we use for commute and also for leisure and also for those. You will see more and more in the electrification vehicle. There will be vehicles that are really good for commute, and they will be built for that. There will be vehicles for some other purposes. So you will see very purpose intent-based innovation. And in the automated or autonomous vehicle, automated driving, definitely collaboration is required. There's so many different angles, whether security, data, AI, mobility, a lot of those things. So you have to, there has to be a lot of collaboration across the industry. New business models are going to emerge, so you need to be flexible around the business model and figure out where in the value chain you can sit and understand what's your strength. The strength that a lot of the Tier 1 and the OEM have, I can tell you, is in the car. As long as the things that you can do immediately in the vehicle and react very quickly, they have a huge strength. So when the data moves out of the vehicle into the cloud, you have to think about how to collaborate and also leverage your strength of understanding it, but also collaborate with other partners, whether they're coming from cloud computing or from their analytics or from AI. So you have to think through what is your core, what is your context, how do you optimize, what's your focus, what are the things you're going to hit. So this is just a summarization of how I see the horizons playing out. At the bottom, you see horizons, and the reason I put this horizon is where the focus is going to be from the business point of view. So I think for the next 3 years, you are going to see a lot of emphasis on connected car, and then followed by car sharing. Not that car sharing is not happening, but the focus will move into car sharing, more of a mobility as a service. And then, and that will continue, but then suddenly somehow around, Magesh, at 2025, 2030, I think, it depends how you see it. I think any time of 2023, you will see a lot of focus on autonomous vehicle, autonomous car. And what I've listed is the business impact on the vertical axis and a list of feature sets. If I go through all of this, it's going to take quite a long, but I can tell you that in the connected car, it's all about increasing EV range. You will see some limited cognitive cockpits. You will see better integration with smartphone and connectivity coming into the car. I think that's where, and then of course early cybersecurity may not be the AI based, but enhanced cybersecurity across in-vehicle network, connectivity, off-vehicle network, and so on. In the car sharing, definitely the car sharing platforms, smart mobility services, it's going to dominate a lot of technology that you see on your smartphone, whether it's around facial recognition, voice recognition, is going to infiltrate into the vehicle. Definitely, imagine in the car sharing, if your profile is up in the cloud and your facial recognition is there, the car, you don't need a key fob. Car can, with your camera, can recognize your face, that this is the person who rented the car from this time to this time. So the car door opens up and you sit in there and you can start. You don't need a key fob. You will see a lot of innovation around that, obviously. And I can talk a lot more in this, but I just want to make sure that we have a little bit more time for Q&A. And then finally, if you see in the autonomous vehicle, there will be the emergence of 5G technology is going to play a key role. And this is a very important. I think people should not think 5G like a 4G, more speed and latency, but 5G also allows network slicing. It allows you to have a dedicated logical network for automotive vehicles, so you can optimize it for it and depend on that network. So it's going to play a key role in that. People are going to have more and more shared autonomous and full shared autonomous vehicles, and less of entitlement-based autonomous vehicle. This is a trend of the millennials and so on, that by that time they will be in the prime stage, and they don't think of entitlement. They think of transportation as a service. So you will see quite a lot of that, and I think one other thing is the AI-based cyber security solutions. Key takeaway: I can tell you that in vehicle everything will be reconfigurable and recalibrable. To have a solution, you need a closed loop architecture. So it's not only in the car but also the cloud and everything in between. You need to think about when you're making a car. It's both off vehicle and on vehicle. Connected services definitely create an ecosystem and partner and provide a marketplace. New business models, aging populations, I talked about it, consumption behaviors changing. So you need to have a different business model that works for different people and get the technology and timing right. That's the key to go through this mega transformation that's going to happen in the next 10 to 20 years. So with that, I want to thank you for listening.